Hello, Armstrong students and faculty. This is a public service announcement concerning a growing epidemic that is causing problems in our society and in our personal lives. There's a dreadful new disease which seems to be spreading throughout the school. It's disturbing, it has many symptoms, but there is hope for a cure. The disease in question is called Prefix Dysplasia. Today, we will talk about the symptoms of prefix dysplasia, the problems that it causes, and how it can be cured. What is prefix dysplasia syndrome, or PDS? It's using the wrong prefix or salutation when speaking or writing. The prefix or salutation is usually an abbreviated set of letters at the beginning of a name. The most common form of PDS involves mixing up or confusing Mr. spelled with an MR period and Mrs. spelled with an MRS period. Let's begin with Mr. Mr. spelled MR period is for use with boys, such as Mr. Howe, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Pendleton, and most importantly, Mr. Sorensen. Mrs. spelled with an MRS period is for use with girls, like Mrs. Stutz, Mrs. Spicer, Mrs. Bodell, and, of course, most importantly, Mrs. Sorensen. Let's discuss some of the symptoms of PDS. The first and most common one is accidentally calling girls by a boy name, as in the following example.
Mr. Sorensen. He's touching me, Mr. Sorensen. Mr. Sorensen?
Really?
Equally embarrassing is the reverse, calling a boy by a girl's name on accident.
Hey, Mrs. Sorensen! Mrs. Sorensen! Mrs. Sorensen!
What?
I need your help.
Another symptom of PSD can be putting a note in the wrong mailbox at school. Teachers are most susceptible to this particular symptom, as shown in the following clip.
Another tragic symptom of prefix dysplasia is putting notes in the wrong box. As more and more teachers with the same name join schools, it becomes a growing problem. This, for instance, is Mr. Sorensen's box. Notice the MR period, which stands for Mr. Mr. Sorensen teaches 6th grade, as does Mrs. Rowland, Mrs. Marsing, and Mrs. Cook. All 6th grade teachers, all in the same column. So if you have a note for a 6th grade student in Mr. Sorensen's class, that note goes in this box. Not that box. This box. This one right here with the Mr. on it. Okay. This over here is Mrs. Sorensen's box, marked with an MRS period for Mrs. Her box is by Miss Van's box, the other kindergarten teacher. If you have a note for kindergarten, it goes in this box. Mrs. Sorensen's box over here. Not over there. Over here. In this one. Here.
Another tragic symptom of PDS is voting for the wrong lip sync entry in the Armstrong lip sync competition. So let's say I wanted to vote for my favorite lip sync. The first thing I would do is go to the Armstrong Academy website. I would scroll down until I came to the lip sync number 5 competition. And then I would click where it says read more. Once it loaded, I would see the form to fill out, where I would put my name, whatever that would be. And then when I click to cast my vote, I have 2 options that look almost exactly the same. One of them says Mr. Sorensen and one of them says Mrs. Sorensen. Now, since we all know that Mr. Sorensen had the best lip sync, we want to vote for Mr. Sorensen. But which one is he? Well, we have to look carefully at the prefix, and we notice that this one has an MR period. That means that's Mr. Sorensen. That's the proper person to vote for. And then I would click Submit.
Vote for Mrs. Sorensen!
The symptoms of prefix dysplasia are real and tragic. But remember, there is hope for a cure. The cure is thoughtfulness before you speak, attention to detail and who you're speaking to. Notice, is it a boy? Is it a girl? And you'll always get it right. Together, we can make a difference.